So, hello, welcome back to a new video. I was not sure if I was put this one online. I will explain why, but in the end I decided to put it online because some, well, let's say different things happened. Normally I would not make a video when it was just raining or when it starts to rain. And this is a typical Dutch situation. It's October and there's lots of rain around. But we got about an hour, predicted hour and a half, where it was not supposed to rain at all. So I went out, but by the end, so if you go to the last 10 minutes ish, it starts raining quite heavily, and I think that was kind of fun to see for people, so that's why I'm putting it online. So I will take this opportunity to talk about some comments that I got and some experiments I'm going to do in this video about how I make the video. The second reason that I almost didn't put it online is the video quality is quite bad. Somehow the camera, I got it tuned quite well, but the settings were gone, and that result is the camera, the image will be quite shaky at times. So yeah. One thing I will try to do is stop more along the way. I will do that one more time in this video, and I will also play a little bit more in making some of the 3D images bigger and smaller while we are watching, if I think the moment is there. So I probably did it in the last 2 minutes already once. So I think that makes sense if I sometimes explaining something. So for example, we are now going closer and closer to the bridge, the yellow bridge near the coffee factory, and although I did put a 3D image below it before, I think it makes more sense that sometimes I switch to a bigger view of that image so that you can see what's happening. So yeah, as you can see, if people are talking about roads, I will zoom in a little bit to the 3D part. But you can see there's quite a lot of roads and train tracks going into the city while we are getting closer to the yellow bridge. We'll also see that there's a lot of building going on, and even though these images from Google are a little bit old, you see that they are still not fully done. So some buildings were there already, other buildings are still being made. So let's get into some of the comments before the weather gets really busy and rainy. So first 2 quick comments. So somebody from the UK gave a comment talking about that he really liked the video, but also that when he was visiting here, he does feel that it was a little bit busy and dangerous on the bicycle. Now, 2 things about it. I've talked about it before, or I put it in the beginning of the video, but I now realize that most people won't see you can't read the small thumbnail that I put a warning on there saying, hey, it looks like I'm going really fast. That's basically because of the camera angle, and I'm not going crazy fast. But as a tourist, or as somebody who gets a bit older, or even me, I'm like 50ish, there are parts where it can be quite busy, and in that video I was actually going to the pyramids, so one of the attractions about 10 kilometers outside of the city, but or the windmill, I'm not sure where I was going, somewhere. By the way, coming up you'll see that the cars are throwing off quite a lot of water, so the good news that the bicycle path is a little bit of the distance is that you don't see the water being splashed. So there they go, you see. Quite. So that's why I put this video online, because some of the images are quite nice. It also gets a bit darker. So, but he was talking about that the traffic looks quite hectic at times, and that's totally true. Especially in the inner city, and especially the area I was going, which is known to be one of the, if not the busiest bicycle crossing in the Netherlands and maybe the world. that it looks quite chaotic. I was also driving on a school day, so there was kids around, and they are even more chaotic on a bicycle. So was it dangerous? No, but can I totally see why, if you're a tourist and you're not stable on your bike yet to correct and anticipate, then I can totally see that that would be an area that you would avoid. In fact, if I would go with my mom, for example, or somebody else on a bicycle, I would definitely avoid that spot. So one thing, one mistake, if you want to call it, that if I want to aim these videos a little bit to tourists, to show them, hey, it's totally fine to bicycle in the Netherlands, I should have avoided that part of the city and route myself around it. Which also kind of hits on somebody else commenting, and it was a typical Dutch person who reacted, so he was quite, I wouldn't say negative, but quite direct. Some parts I don't agree with, I will get back to. Other parts I do agree with, and one of the comments that he made is that I should have planned my route better. So my idea was that I will not route my ride totally, but I will leave it to Google Maps. And the reason for that in my opinion, it was like that would what a tourist would do. He or she would use Google Maps to figure out the route and follow it. I think in the future I will not do that. I will probably take the route that I want, or take a route like the older gentleman was talking about, that feels more safe, if that makes sense. More through nature, more in the bicycle paths that make sense if you are a first-time visitor. So I do listen to the comments, even though there are only a few. On my other YouTube channel there's 100 times or more people on there watching, so it's not a big deal. And I'm making these videos for fun. So that was one comment. So we are now going into the inner city, and it is already quite close to the inner city, but you can see that the bicycle paths are really nice to bicycle here. There's hardly any conflict with cars or other bicycles. But in the really inner part, I can totally see that it could be a little bit scary if you are a first time rider. So let's watch a little bit before we talk about the next comments. So slowly it's getting darker. You see the lights are already on. I kind of like bicycling when it just rained. You'll also notice that there's quite a lot of people out and about on their bike. Probably all watching the Dutch weather radar, the rain radar, knowing that it will be going to rain in half an hour or something. I guess it was half an hour, but it was planned to take another hour, so that's why I was caught out and got totally wet. So I will put sometimes the bigger picture on to show you some stuff. So my parents lived in the building that we are, I will make it bigger now in the bottom. And you can see that's quite normal that this building is quite big, but it has an inner garden, which we are now kind of losing into the picture. But the next, even the older block, so that's quite a new building, but you can see that the older block has the same sort of design. There's an inner garden, although that's split up in let's say private gardens. Sometimes I wonder, in the newer setups they most of the time make it a shared garden, which I think is more sensible. So we are nearing Central Station, and you can see there's quite a lot of water around. Also, the reason why all the Dutch bike have fenders, I don't really get why many countries have bicycles without fenders. If the argument seems to be a weight, then I'm like, if there are plastic ones, even nice ones, they're about what, few hundred grams. I don't fully understand. So the building in front of us, and you can also see it in the 3D view. In my youth, in the 70s and early 80s, that was kind of the biggest building in the Netherlands except for the Dom, which is part of an old church. That building was kind of the highest building in my mind, and it's not anymore. Clearly the inner city is being rebuilt and we're also getting higher and higher buildings. There was kind of a rule that you should not build anything bigger than the Dom, which I think I'm probably gonna get comments about it, but in my gut feeling it was 106 meters high, or it is 106 meters high. So we're going next to the water. This is quite a famous bicycle path, I guess, if you watch Dutch bicycle videos. Next to the windmill called The Star. And we already see that the video is getting a little bit worse and shaky. It will get very shaky at the end. So let's maybe talk about some of the comments before we hit the one of the main attractions, I guess, or is the bicycle bridge over the Daphne Scheppers bridge, which goes on top of a school and circles around. So he is commenting that I'm going really fast, which I already commented about, and that I'm going faster than average bicyclists, which is true. Not as much as it looks like in the video, but it's true, I'm going faster. But I'm still complaining that the traffic lights don't automatically go on green the moment that I approach. I did listen to my own video again after he wrote his comment, and I can see where he's coming from, but I guess that's something you can learn, and also why I'm not doing any audio again during the bicycling, but after the fact is you can think a little bit more about what you want to say, and you're not in the moment because you're bicycling. But his comment is kind of correct, but what I wanted to express was kind of the reverse. I like to talk about and like to look at the infrastructure that we are building, and I think part of the people watching this are also interested in that. So my comment was more aimed at that I suspect, because a lot of e-bikes are being sold, and I think you also noticed that although I'm going a little bit faster than others, so this guy was bicycling quite fast, hands not on the wheel, using his phone. So if you're talking about danger, that's one thing. But I go quite fast, but in the end I don't think that's much of an issue. I do think that the average speed of people in the Netherlands bicycling is going up a little bit. So where it was about 16 or 17 kilometers an hour, I think we are getting closer to 20 kilometers or 21 kilometers an hour. Because of the e-bikes and because of, yeah, I think younger people are driving faster a little bit. So things seem to be more going to that direction. And what I meant with my comment is that the loops in the ground are probably going to be retuned, in that they notice and pick you up earlier to turn the light to green. So it was not that I mind stopping at a traffic light. I wouldn't say enjoy it, but you notice that I don't often go to red. I most of the time stop, and I don't mind stopping. I feel fine with it. In fact, one of the main reasons why I'm using this e-bike is that it helps you getting up to speed. So it's very enjoyable to quickly get going. And if you're going uphill, of course, it helps quite a lot. But once you go about 24 kilometers an hour, the support really cuts out, and it brings you really quickly to that speed. And then it sort of goes, do you or it yourself sort of mode. That's why I'm using it. So one of his other remarks, quite snarky, is sort of talking about that he prefers to be more sporty and has a bicycle with 27 gears. Like I said, this one has no gears, or it does have gears, but you don't have to decide yourself. It's all automatic. But in the end, I do feel that I'm getting quite a lot of exercise since I bicycle. I try to bicycle about 50 kilometers a day. But also the bike is kind of tricky, is that yes, it's an e-bike, but quite quickly it brings you to the speed that it doesn't support you anymore. So in the end you're doing quite a lot of pedaling yourself. I kind of don't care too much about this comment, because it's all about me. If I would use a normal bike, I wouldn't have as much fun on the bike and enjoyment, so that's the most important thing. And now we can see I will make this bigger this time, that we are looping up the hill. Maybe I do this side by side. And that's what I mean, I will use this video as an experiment, even though the video quality is quite bad. As you can see, we are circling up over the school. And you can see, you can't see it in a normal view, you can see it in the 3D view. There's quite a lot of solar panels on roofs these days. And when we go up, Google Earth actually gets confused and it thinks that we are swimming in the water, because it tells us that we are not on the bridge, but we are below the bridge. It's amazing that this technology works, in my opinion, but sometimes it makes mistakes. You can also see what I was talking about, that in the Google data, there's no buildings here yet, while some of the buildings have been there for quite a while, and other buildings they are now making. And you can see what's happening with the video. It's getting darker and the settings were wrong, so that's why the images are becoming more and more shaky. So we just went from the old city area to the new one. And maybe we can see it a tiny bit. You see the tiny bit of red thing in the bottom. But I'm now driving next to a major highway, but the highway is below ground. So it's not the road that you're seeing in the picture, but it's actually 6 or maybe 8 lanes of traffic for I think 3 and 3 I think. Major highway going below ground over here, and maybe in the top view by the end we will see it pop up on the top of our image. And we talked about this before. The reason why they buried it below ground is that the old city part and the new city parts will become more connected and not cut off by a major highway. As a result, they don't build homes on top of it, although in both in the picture but also in the 3D view you see kind of a weird pyramid shaped building pop up. That's actually the watchtower on top of the highway. It's a watch and control tower, and I guess they also have quite a lot of equipment there, probably to suck out air if there's fire, or I'm not sure what's totally in there. But that weird looking building is on top of the highway, so it gives you a good idea where the highway is actually running. And actually in the top view, in the 3D view, I will make it bigger. You can see it pop up below ground. So first you see the bus station, which is the thing that we passed before, because we see the blue line where we passed already. And there you see quite well the highway coming out of the ground and entering. But we are going to our left. And now we quite well see on the 3D view also the building I was talking about, the watchtower. And again, a good example of buildings which have been built in the last year-ish, which are not in the Google view yet, but they are clearly already built. So I've lived here for about, I don't know, 15, 16 years. And it's kind of fun to see part of a city being built around you. So when I started here, there was almost nothing, but by now I would say 80% what we see in the next few minutes has been built while I was living here. Personally, I find the 3D view quite fascinating. So if you download Google Earth and you feed it GPS data, which you can get from Komoot or another website of all kinds of tracks, then you can upload it into Google Earth. I have put a video online on how to do this on this channel, and you can basically look around, use Street View, track what has been happening, or create a helicopter view like I'm doing now. So we now completed our loop, but I decided, and that was a mistake, to keep bicycling because, well, it was not supposed to rain yet, because we're only 20 minutes in, and that was a big mistake because then it started raining, which is also the main reason why I kept this video and I didn't throw it away. So back to his comments, he's also commenting that I should do it in Dutch, which I'm not going to do, because I think it's more fun if I do it in English for other people to watch. And his comment is that I can use the translate function. Yeah, I just don't agree. So, and overall he says I should put more time into these videos. And I feel a little bit that I agree with him, so I might start putting in a little bit more time, both in preparation and in execution, but in the end I'm making these for fun, and that's quite an important thing for me. I'm just doing it because I'm bicycling anyway. This is also the reason, so the video he watched, I was quite, I would say, not relaxed, because I was also doing audio commentary while I was bicycling, and I think that was a mistake. Both the quality is less, but even worse, you indeed are busy answering questions or commenting while you should be relaxing, and he's totally right. I bike to relax. I'm going faster than people think I'm going, or the other way around. I'm not going as fast. I'm being quite relaxed in bicycling. I like bicycling. I listen to audiobooks while I'm driving in one ear, so no music. You see a lot of people with headphones on, and I comment on that quite often. I, in my opinion, do it totally safe. I have one ear with a Apple AirPod thingy, listening to books while I'm bicycling, and he's totally right. I bicycle about up to 2 hours a day to relax, and if I was making the audio while I was riding, I noticed that it was less relaxing, so I will stop doing that and I will do these voiceovers. Another comment about language is somebody said I should say Utrecht, the city we are in, and not Utrecht. So yeah, he's a typical Dutch person and probably lives in Utrecht. And I do it again, right? So please forgive me. I will try to pronounce Dutch names in Dutch, but I'm pretty sure I will go back to Utrecht quite often because it's sort of ingrained into my mind at work, and when I'm traveling, of course, I talk a lot of English, even though my English is less than perfect. In a typical Dutch way, I don't really care about language, not even my own language. But I will try to say Utrecht instead of Utrecht, if I don't forget. So we are slowly, again, this is still a new part of the city, and you see the train, one direction the train tracks going out, and we are going below this, and slowly we are going into the direction of Maxima Park. So, which was the second loop I decided to bike. And if this is the first video you're watching, we talked about this before. So you see a really long sort of lane with trees that we are biking on, and also in the 3D image. The reason why it's there and there's no buildings at all in a very long path, about 5 or 6 kilometers, is because there's 2 really big tubes in there, which brings the drinking water needed in Amsterdam to Amsterdam. So it starts at something called the Lek, which is a while back here water, and the water is being pumped all the way to the dunes. So basically, if you are watching Formula 1, kind of that area where the beach is, there it gets cleaned using the dunes to the sand, and then it gets pumped to Amsterdam for drinking water. So that's why we see this these trees and then the area in between, and there's no buildings on top of it, because if they need to get to the drinking tubes to fix them, then they can do it. And as a result, we have an interesting bike path. And now you can actually see how much shaking is going on because of the wrong camera settings. And it looks like I'm going 300 kilometers an hour, which is definitely not true, but that's just how the picture works out. So I'm scanning his comment to see if there's more things he was talking about. Yeah, I was saying that we, which I didn't do by the way. I think this was about 20 kilometers and I'm going about 21 kilometers average. I did put the statistics at the beginning of the video in the thumbnail, but again nobody can really watch it, so it was a bad idea. I will try to talk about it in the beginning of videos instead of talking about my technical problems, which I'm doing in this one. I guess I could also say I mostly go about 21-22 kilometers average, so if a video is like 15 minutes long, you can kind of guess how long the trip was. So you can see quite a lot of standing water. I'm also still trying to figure out how to get the best audio. Again, I stepped away from the idea that I want to do a voiceover, so that makes it a little bit easier, but also harder, because I want to have more environment sound, like birds and stuff. But it was very quiet outside, and of course the tires, because it was raining, are making a lot of noise now. Now the e-bike part, so the engine, you kind of hear it sometimes, but later on I will also show you. I turned it off for a while, so I was biking just manually, and the sound, most of the sound is actually coming from the tires and the gearing system, and not from the engine. So there's no way for me to make it less than it already is. And you can see we are slowly getting into the park area with a small beach at a man-made water location. And on the right side we see water cleaning facilities. And somewhere in this park it starts raining like crazy. So upcoming, I'm doing one of the experiments I was talking about. I will get off the bike to show you a little bit around, and yeah, to give you a bit of the view what I'm seeing. And I think that's probably going to be something that I do more. I'm not sure, because I need to keep the camera running, because then the GPS data makes sense, otherwise it will be too much work. So at the end point I will probably, which I also did with the windmill, last windmill video, I will edit a little bit at the end. I will do my best a bit more. But in this case, if I'm stopping along the route, I need to keep the camera running. So I was kind of doing a small experiment. Can I get a camera off the bike while the camera is running, show it around a little bit, and then put it back on the bike. And maybe I will leave it in the way that it is, or maybe I will just put a picture on top of it when I'm taking it off, or we will see. But I want to show a little bit more of this lake, so in about 30 seconds I think I will stop and show it around. Of course, here we see very few people, because in the inner city people are quickly going from one place to another place before it starts raining. But here everybody's going like, nope. So I'm almost alone. And we are going to stop at the Steiger, so at the construction up ahead. Which I think most of the time, especially if the weather is nice, there's kids sitting there. I'm getting off and just showing you a little bit around. You see that I try to keep my hands out of the view, but that's quite difficult. So maybe I will leave it in the raw just to figure out next time how to make it better. I could, for example, just superimpose some pictures. What I can't do is stop the video, because then the time is off. But you can see I'm walking on there and showing you a little bit about this really nice sort of area in town with the beach. So there's always people hanging around here. And there we have our bicycle that we are using. And you see they made a sitting area. So there's always girlfriends, boyfriends, couples sitting here in the evening watching the sunset. But nobody's here yet because they didn't want to get wet. And just because I didn't plan this to put this video online, I'm walking back to the bicycle, basically to show a friend where I've put the microphone this time. So it's a wireless one. It's in there, and I put a big what we call a dead cat, so for the wind over it, so it looks like a little ball of fur. I don't know, leave a comment if you mind me putting it on there and removing it. That's maybe if I am not careful, you see a little bit of my hand. But I think in general it works quite well. You can actually see my steering wheel pop up in the bottom, at the top. And there we go again. Of course, the same as with, I guess, cars, but definitely if you're walking or if you're on a bike, you have to keep in mind how steep you can reasonably bicycle if you're older and using a non-e-bike. So you can see here that they do a loop-the-loop just to get you up to the height of the bridge if you want to go over that road next to it. We are not going to use this one, but so normally you would not see this infrastructure if you're on the bike, but the nice thing if you are in this 3D view, you can see what they're actually doing to make the bicycle or even the car infrastructure work. There's quite a few sport complexes we are going to pass, and here you see one of them. So when I'm in this lane, I actually turn off the engine, but I'm also going so fast that it's probably not doing much anyway. But I will turn it off and just to check for myself what the sound does. And I do hear the difference, but it's not as much as I expected. because like I said, most of the noise is coming from the tires. So now it's turned off. And again, the picture is not great because of the wrong settings of the camera. It's getting darker, so the stabilization is basically not working as it's supposed to be working, so that's why it's shaking all over the place. But very likely you have jumped over this part of the video and you're just watching the last few minutes when it started to rain. I think now I turned the support of the e-bike on again. So the crossing I just did, it might look that I don't pay attention to the cars, or the cars are not paying attention to me. But again, it looks faster than I am going in the video. And I make sure that they have seen me and they kind of acknowledge that I've seen, that I see them, right? So it looks like I'm sort of not paying attention and just ramming through that area. We are not. So I guess it cuts both ways. You can actually see that this looks like we are in nature almost, in a way. But you can also see in most Dutch surroundings, if it looks like that you are in nature, even if you're in a forest, there's always homes very close by, because, well, there's just not that much space in our country. Although this is quite a big park, so if I would have gone left here, for example, I will do that in the next one, I think, then yeah, they're kind of peaceful areas. But you're always close to something or someone. It's not as green anymore as in the Google view, because, well, it's getting... Well, we are far into October already. And by now I'm kind of starting to feel and getting more and more worried about the weather. So the camera is waterproof, and I'm kind of waterproof, although I didn't put any rain protection on. But the microphone is not, so I need to take the microphone off the moment that it starts raining. And we already see a small sort of drizzle into the headlights. One thing I thought was quite funny is that the headlights are so strong on this bike that you can see the water really coming down later in the video because of the lights. I hope that the person that was kind of in a Dutch way being very direct and blunt did feel I answered his questions. And look, the sky was looking quite nice here. Oh. Although I do think he's a little bit, how do I say this, easy with my time. He's like, well, if you want to put it on, I'm now exaggerating, but if you want to put it online, you should spend more time on it. Be lucky that nobody is still watching. And I'm like, well, I will be putting in the amount of time that I want to, because it's more fun for me to make. And if somebody watches this is fine, and then I enjoy it, but it's not the reason why I'm making them. Kind of the same as my other YouTube channel, which has like 100 times more views and people. So it has about 5,500 people, I think. Still quite small. There I review camera equipment and show tips and tricks. But again, I'm doing that because it might help somebody, and I get comments a few times a week. Oh, you really helped me. That's my goal. My goal is not to become a big YouTube channel. I don't want to spend the time on it, and I don't need another job. But I do sometimes want to help people. So if I can put a video online explaining something, I will. So you can see in this park they created different sort of areas, and this is there's a Japanese garden which we are not using now. We just passed another interesting sort of waterway that has a lot of benches next to it, so that people can sit there. And we are going up a hilly part, and you can already see that this is the part where there was some old homes, a small village, and yeah, that has to be somehow integrated. So you notice already in the buildings and even in the road that this feels a little bit like an old village part. And then they put like one of the most fun little bridges in there, because it's very steep, so on your bike you really have to go up and down. And also some really interesting artwork. So they put a car, a metal, it's a statue, bronze, on the floor. It's fixed, but it's just to stop cars from driving through. And there we go up the little bridge, which is very round, if that makes sense. So it's like woo, going up and going down again. And you can see in the top already where we've been biking before and where we need to go. But now it starts raining. My fears are becoming more and more real. It's getting darker, but it also starts raining. So I have to decide, what do I do? Do I assume it will be only a few drops, or will it become quite bad? So I decide somewhere here to stop and take the camera, take the microphone off the camera and the wireless part of the back of the bicycle, and then continue. And it was luckily that I did, because it's getting quite bad quite quickly. So there's still 5 minutes in the video. Between now and when I got home, I got totally soaked. Like, I had to take all the clothes off, put them in the washer. You can hear already, and the fun part, because of the quite strong headlight that I'm using, you can see the water coming from a little bit the worst. Well, it started raining way too early. Talking a little bit in the video. We're still recording. By now I already know I'm going to be soaking wet, so I stopped caring about it. I made sure that the microphone is okay. So I'm pretty sure you can hear this. It's supposed to be dry for another 20 minutes, but we are going to get soaking wet. I'm not sure what the 3D picture is doing there. That's kind of interesting. Now the picture goes worse, but you can see the raindrops really hitting me. So if people are wondering about wind and rain in the Netherlands, here you have your answer. This is what it looks like if somebody records a video while it's raining. You can actually hear the audio go bad because water droplets are probably being stuck on the microphone that's built into the camera. So we hear less and less. So everybody outside now knows if they don't have any rain protection, they are going to be hosed. And I'm not kidding, I think by now I'm probably about as wet if we jump into a pool. So that took like 2 minutes or something. And that's life in the Netherlands. Or as some people would say, Utrecht. They will actually say Utrecht, my stadje, but that's another thing. I wouldn't say this is the worst rain level that you can get in the Netherlands, because later on it was really going to be more rain, and there's more rain also predicted for the day. But this is a good way to get wet. It's I would say middle rain. You can also hear the brakes on the bike. I have very nice bike and also good brakes, but they do start to make noise when it's raining. So they did have their raincoats. I made the wrong gamble today. So you can imagine if it's like, I don't know, 10 degrees colder, and you're on your bicycle going to school and the weather is like this, and trust me, most kids still use their bicycle also when the weather is like this, then you're not happy. And I think I'm sometimes repeating myself, but I think e-bikes is going to be a big help here, even for kids at some point, because it's especially in weather conditions like this, it lessens the burden. It's if you have a rain suit on, even if it's windy and the rain levels like this, you still feel somewhat comfortable. I take a shortcut here that I normally don't take, because I'm trying to limit the amount of time. But then these cars are not too nice and they don't stop, so we have a lot of cars. But you can see how much water is coming down on the ground, right? And this would be a slightly above average amount of water that is falling when it's raining in the Netherlands. So it's quite a strong bui, what we call bui, but it's not massive. It's not, if we use an English term, raining cats and dogs yet. But you can see in the camera that water is coming from all sides. So lesson 2 from this video is don't trust the Dutch weather radar. And we are slowly getting to the end of the video. We still have about 2 minutes left. But we are entering kind of the road that we will end on. And we finished the loop. We can already see the blue line that we did in the top view. And we are going to finish that loop and then this video is done. So let me already say thanks for watching. I'm not sure which parts of the video you have watched. And I promise that next one will be more stable and better video. maybe next year when summer gets going again, I've learned all I can learn this year, and next year's video will be more idyllic because it's sunny, and better quality because of what I've learned this year and slowly creating this setup. So again, thanks for the comments, even if they are quite direct, what we say in a Dutch way. Americans would call it rude, but I do thank you for the comments because it did make me think about a few things. And I will adapt to some of them. So it also got quite dark, which makes the rain much more visible. Maybe I should have put on my bigger lights. So there's two lights on this bike, a normal light and let's say what do you call it in English? Your beams. I guess you could also turn the beam on, then it becomes much wider and stronger. We might have seen even more rain. Okay, goodbye and see you in the next one. Sorry for the bad quality. Bye bye.